industry-leading genetics, extensive local breeding and testing, top-performing products. Developed specifically for your field. Visit pioneer.com/what's next to learn more.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 at Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday, of course. Also, hello to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It is great to have everyone with us here on this Thursday, which means, because it is Thursday, it is the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Of course, you can go to pioneer.com/Canada to find out more about all the great products that Pioneer has to offer, especially if you're in the canola growing regions. Pioneer brand canola with Optimum Glide technology, the highest yielding glyphosate tolerant trait on the market. What's next in canola happens here. And again, that URL is pioneer.com/Canada. Okay, today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we got a great lineup of guests. Looking forward to talking to everybody that is lined up here today on the program. We've got Dan Petker. He's coming out of Ontario. Shane Strydhorst is in Alberta. We'll be joined by Warren McCutheon, who is in Manitoba. And we'll also talk to Mike Shewchuk, who is in Saskatchewan. So some veterans there of the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll also talk today to Pioneer agronomist Paul Hermans, who is joining us from Eastern Ontario. Will also be today on the program. Find out how some of that those soybean yields are looking in parts of Ontario as well. Really good soybean yields in Manitoba. We'll find out what Warren has been experiencing on his farm today and how everybody's making out with harvest and some of the fall work as we prep for winter getting a little bit closer here very quickly. If you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms. Hey, on realagriculture.com, Kelvin Hepner, who you hear on the Friday show all the time, he has posted a really good article post talking about the private members bills and how some of the prospects are fading ahead of a potential election. Now, who knows when this election is going to happen in Canada? Of course, in the U.S., we're getting everly closer to the first week of November. But in Canada, it has to happen before now and October of 2025. So Kelvin writes, regular government business has come to a standstill in the House of Commons over the past week, decreasing the likelihood that multiple agriculture-related bills will cross the finish line before Parliament is inevitably dissolved for an election. The impasse over the Liberals' refusal to yield a Conservative motion to hand over Green Tech Fund documents to the RCMP has shut down all progress on government and private members' bills in the House of Commons. Now, Kelvin lists all of these different bills. And there is a long laundry list, like C-203, 234, 244, 294, 280. We've got 282, of course. Some of these are going to be familiar, some not. 287, 293, 355, 359, 406, 407. So Kelvin has listed all of these, who put them forward, what they're about, so you can look at, I'm really in favor of that one, not so much that other one. And there's some important ones like 293 we've talked about, 282, of course, we've talked about, 234, which is the one that has to do with carbon tax exemptions on farming activities. Lots there. So check that article out at realagriculture.com. And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada to Norfolk County, and we're talking to Dan Petker. Dan, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful, breezy day, so, beans are dry and combines are rolling.
Yeah, but I hear you've had some combine challenges, though. What's going on?
Well, we've got a new combine, and, new to us, and it's new electronics, and sometimes those gremlins come out, and we don't know how to solve them yet. So it's just a bit of a learning curve, and it's a little frustrating, but it is.
Yeah. Well, what's got to bring a little bit of a smile to your face, I've been hearing that yields are not too bad in your parts when we look at some of the soybeans.
Yeah. There's some gorgeous beans. We pulled, I got a field that was scheduled for wheat, so it's a short day maturity and planted late, and we were still nicely above 60 bushel, and that's excellent for the timing and for the bean. And we're going to tuck into some of our real long maturity beans, and I mean, I got nothing but hopes for a 75 plus.
Wow! Anytime you can get a 75 on a bean yield, you should have a smile on your face.
Pretty exciting. Oh yeah, big time.
Good for you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great time of year.
What about corn? What are your thoughts there? What do you think happens from a corn perspective? There's, it seems my anecdotal sort of qualitative thought is here that people have been a little bit more excited about their soybeans than maybe what their corn's going to bring, especially if you've seen some tar spot.
Well, and that's like where we farm here. Like tar spot set in heavy and hard. There are some definite varietal differences, and on top of that, if guys sprayed fungicide or not. And back when that fungicide decision timing was happening, corn was worth less than it is now. So there's a number of guys who said no to it and are really regretting it. So, and then what happens too is like it didn't rain for 6-7 weeks, and we were 33 plus, 28 to 30. And so a lot of the corn died from drought and tar spot. And when I see completely brown fields of corn this time of year, that makes me really nervous because they should be 60, 70% green still. And they've been dead for a long time, so the stalk rots and issues are going to be all over the place.
Did you spray once or twice for tar spot?
We just did once with like drop nozzles because we found that offers us our best control. We do have some trials with twice, but those economics are pretty hard to make work. We'll let Albert Tenuta kind of lay the groundwork for Ontario on that one.
We were warned about tar spot and its potential, 3 years ago, right? And
yeah, 3, 4, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't live up to maybe some of the warnings of the possibilities. This year, it's shown itself
everywhere. Yeah, and that's, I guess, what happens with this disease. Like, our winters don't get cold enough to set it back. So the inoculum load just keeps going. So it may be blowing in from Michigan and Ohio for us, but you're also going to have it just innate within the soils. So, the more tar spot seasons happen, the more tar spot seasons will happen. And it's going to be a tough one to manage.
What other fall work you can try to get done before we, hit winter?
Well, we're seeding wheat right now, and ground conditions are bang on perfect, so that drill will just go for a while. And other than that, I got a bunch of lime to spread. It's been windy for so long that I wonder when we'll ever get it done. And it's good. It's good.
Your wheat acre is going to be flat, or because I think the expectation in general is based on what I've been hearing is that we're going to have a little bit less wheat acres this year in Ontario, or on 25.
We're up probably about 15% on our acres, and I know I've mentioned this before. Like I was really aggressive on marketing like this past crop, let alone this coming crop, and it's going to make me money if we get it in timely. And
right.
So that was wheat sold a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, and yeah. So dumb luck.
Well, yeah, wheat prices 2 years ago were a lot better than today.
Well, and that's it. And like I saw them, and I was like, I know I'm going to plant wheat. I know, average baseline cost of putting the crop in. So I sell against some of that, and I have long-term yield data. So I just kind of, booked 30% of my expected yield, and away we go.
Well, the buyer that did that contract with you, they've had lots of opportunity to average down.
Well, that's it. And like I've got a great relationship with our buyer, and he teases me and I tease him about it fairly regularly. And yeah, but sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. So it's actually nice to get a win.
Grind his gears a little bit for
exactly
sure.
that.
So you're looking at 24 is, obviously you still got some harvesting to do, but 24 has been a fairly decent year considering kind of what we were hearing in the beginning of the growing season out of the southwestern Ontario.
I am astounded at how good our crop looks.
Yeah.
Or how late a lot of it went in. Like we had some timely rains at the end of August where if you go 3 roads north, there was no rain. But that August rain, and then we had another rain the week after during Labor Day, and it was just that made my bean crop, that finished my corn crop, and we should have some excellent yields. Like we really, really should. And that's a testament to the genetics anymore. Really, like plant breeding is astounding what we've done to these plants.
So what's been your biggest challenge this year then?
Not enough time at the pool? No. Well, it's marketing has been tough. Like for unmarketed crop, like I didn't sell nearly enough of last year's corn early enough, so I took a bit of hit on that. And hopefully I was aggressive enough, but hindsight says I should have sold more this year already too. Yeah. But that's always the struggle part. Like nature's going to do what nature does, but for some reason, some of us farmers have a hard time pulling the trigger because we want to ride that roller coaster higher up.
Well, honestly, I don't think there's a farmer out there that says like, hey, this has been an easy year to market. It's been a lot of challenges for a lot of people, and some people feel like, man, I lucked out there, or I regret this. It hasn't been easy. You've had, if you've had success, you've either been just dumb luck, or you can feel good about the reasons why you made the decision when you did. It's definitely been a challenge.
Yeah. So other than that, like growing the crop has been wonderful. Yeah.
If only the marketing was sometimes goes as well as growing the crop.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Got cover crops this year again?
Yep. Like we really pulled back on like how aggressive we were with them. So it's lots of red clover.
Oh, yes, that's right. You wear a cape when it comes to establishing red clover. I forgot about this.
Yeah. I've actually had a few people come by to walk the stands and kind of understand what it means. And it's been so consistent now that I think I can start crediting our like pulling a nitrogen credit for the corn crop and really, leveraging it. Yeah. And then we spread some oats into the soybeans and that, but it's the clover is king.
Once in a while people say like in the area of like canola agronomy or pulse agronomy, is there like a wheat Pete? Well, you know what? When it comes to red clover, we've got red clover Dan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's people call and I'm just like, I don't know. It might be it's part of it's where we live, so it's interesting.
He's so
I love growing it.
So humble.
I do love seeing it, though. It is my favorite thing to look at.
Oh, that's cool. Well, hey, Dan, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. All the best to you as you get the soybeans and the corn finished, okay?
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Great stuff. Hey, we'll be right back on RealAg Radio and the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
Your co-op grow team are your local experts because we live here too. Our agronomic specialists stay up to date with the latest research and technology to help support your entire farm operation. Talk to our team for advice tailored to your farm's needs. We have recommendations to help you optimize your crop yield and quality while enhancing the health of your land. Co-op. We're all growing together. Here for your farm. Here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
We're going to talk to Jack Legg, SGS's Business Development Manager. Let's talk about some of the testing that SGS Guelph does.
Yes, so at our facility, we're predominantly testing for nutrients. So soil testing for fertility to manage crop production. Same in the greenhouse world, but they're testing water and the soil as growing media. And then the livestock side of things, we're testing the feeds and forages and feed ingredients to optimize nutrition and maximize, or at least try to optimize growth and production for the farmer. But SGS also has many different labs in the network, so we can help out from an environmental standpoint. Maybe it's heavy metals testing or contaminants. We've got seed testing capabilities.
Congratulations on the 40-year anniversary of the SGS Guelph Lab. Quite an accomplishment. And you can find out more about SGS to help you elevate your business by calling 1-800-952-5407. And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire to Carman, Manitoba, and we're talking to Warren McCutheon. Hey, Warren, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Good to be on again.
Hey, it's great to chat with you. So, hey, how's this fall gone for you?
So far, fairly smooth, actually. Mother Nature's been fairly cooperative here. A few shutdowns here and there. Had a couple rainy weeks a few weeks ago, but the sun's been shining. Temperatures are amazing here. We've made some good progress here for sure.
You happy with the yields?
Yeah, considering challenging year, things have been pretty solid, kind of across the board. Kind of a cold, tough start to the year, and then a lot of rain in May and June. Crops are under a lot of stress, especially July long weekend. We got hit pretty hard here, and obviously it did some damage. Lost, especially in our edible beans, lost a few, delayed a few quite a bit, but then really turned around and kind of got dry for 5 or 6 weeks, so we thought we'd probably see a pretty good yield hit, without seeing really a drop of rain here most of the summer. But I guess the crops kind of started to dig a little bit. I think some of the earlier crops, the wheat and the canola, were far enough along that it didn't affect them too much. And then we ended up getting a little bit of rain kind of mid-August, and that kind of finished the beans off a little bit and really put some nice yields on even the edible beans that were kind of hurt, and soybeans especially were just fantastic, really.
Yeah, that's great. It was interesting. We had Tyler Shao on from agmarket.net. He's out of North Dakota, and he talked about earlier, it was yesterday, He talked about how parts of North Dakota are pretty dry, but that hasn't necessarily worked its way north into Manitoba, right? Like you don't consider yourself dry at this point.
We're probably pretty average right now, I would say. There were some areas south of us that got hit really hard with 4, 5, 6 inches of rain a few weeks ago. But been very warm, dry, windy ever since. So we would be on the drier side. The ravines are dry, that kind of thing. The big crops pulled a lot of water out of the ground. I think we had about 15 inches of rain here in May and June, and amazing how the ground actually soaked that up with fairly minimal damage. And, a lot of our tile drainage ground held up a lot better than some stuff that didn't have it, or, just not quite as good of natural drainage as well. Those fields struggled a little bit more. And then a big crop pulling a lot of water out of the ground. We're definitely back in a drier pattern right now. But in pretty good shape for getting a lot of field work done. And we got to be careful what we wish for here. It's like, yes, it's great to have moisture for next season, but we also have 900 acres of corn here to finish up in the next few weeks, which it's much easier to do in these conditions than it is in the mud.
Oh, yeah. You definitely don't want any sort of an early winter for sure. And like you said, get a bunch of rain right now. It's great for, preparing for next year, but you still got a corn crop to take off.
Exactly. I know if we can just order it up perfectly, we'll get, 3 weeks of really nice weather here, and you get a little bonus time in November, get a lot of field work done, get some fertilizer done for next year, and then, maybe a couple inches of rain early November or some really wet, heavy snow, something like that before it freezes up. Put a little bit of moisture back in the topsoil would be fantastic. If we could just get what we want and order that, because that's so easy to do.
One thing that Manitoba's proven this year is they can grow soybeans. I have heard some great soybean yields out of Manitoba this year.
Yeah, they are. I think it's kind of funny they've seemed to flip back and forth here quite a bit in the last few years. Canola and soybean acres have kind of always gone back and forth a little bit in the valley, and it seems in this drier pattern that we've been in here for the most part in the last, say, 7 or 8 years, the canola's probably outperformed a little bit better. Soybeans, just without consistent summer rains or that August rain, they've just kind of been a dog in these drier years. But this year was kind of the opposite. You talk to most guys and it's like, oh, your canola bloomed for a month. It looked beautiful. And yeah, it was kind of disappointing. And then the soybeans were kind of the opposite. They kind of looked rough in the spring. A few drowned out areas that kind of recovered, and then it started to rain early mid-August, and they put a bunch of extra pods on, and I imagine it'll be one of the biggest soybean crops in Manitoba history, I would think. everything looked great. Yields are fantastic.
Do you put any winter wheat in at all?
We don't. No, I've seen a few guys have kind of put some stuff in here, whether it's fall rye, winter wheat, and I think most of it went in just as we were kind of getting a couple inches of rain a few weeks ago, and it just looks fantastic. Obviously, that doesn't mean much this time of year. It's got to get through winter and a whole set of those kind of circumstances. But right now, it looks like anybody that put in some fall crop, they've got a great catch right now.
How's your crop marketing gone this year? Have you steered through that okay, or what's your thoughts?
Obviously a tough one. We had a little bit of stuff, some canola and stuff pre-sold. Certain other crops are tough to pre-sell. We're basically a crop like corn. We're basically storing 100% of it, hoping for a bit of a price recovery here. It's not great off the combine, and it's such a risky crop to market. We get a frost in the first couple weeks of September, and you don't really have any crop, and you've got a whole bunch sold. It's just not a risk that we take on. The crop that we use for a lot of our cash flow would be edible beans. So I'm basically 100% sold on our pinot beans. Fairly solid price, whether it was pre-booking six months ago, and then we sold a bunch kind of a few weeks before harvest, before the harvest pressure came on, and was happy with that sale. And we'll use that for our cash flow, and a lot of the other stuff's going to go in the bin here, and maybe we'll see a little recovery at some point. But there just hasn't been a lot of opportunity. We've sold a few bounces in the canola market. But corn and wheat's basically just kind of been depressed for months here, and we'll pick away at a little bit over the winter if nothing changes. But hopefully by spring, there's a little bit of carry in the market right now, and we can take advantage of that.
Sounds like you got some storage on farm to hold the fort if you need to.
Yeah, no, we do for sure. Obviously, growing a lot of corn, we're kind of we're set up for that. We've got our big storage for corn because you never know. It's hard to move it sometimes in the fall. Trucks are an issue and that kind of thing. So if you're not able to store it, you're going to end up probably taking a pretty good hit on price in October, trying to move extra corn when everybody's got a good crop. So we're able to store it all here ourselves, and that's kind of all of our needs are met that way.
Yeah, avoid some of that harvest pressure for sure. So do you have a whole system decked out in terms of bin monitoring to feel confident in the quality of that crop in those bins, or how do you manage that?
Yep, most of the stuff's all cabled, and we'll check it periodically. Everything's got aeration on it. We run fans. We'll cool them off when the weather starts to turn here. We'll freeze things up nice in the winter that we know if we're storing it through the winter. No real concerns. So we're keeping an eye on it pretty close.
Is there a worse feeling than realizing you've lost a bin of a crop? And it hurts even worse nowadays because the bins are so big. But even when it was a 5,000 bushel bin or something like that, there is no worse feeling in the pit of your stomach when you make that realization that you have this was an unforced error.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. We've never really been in that situation. I've had a few hot spots in a few bins. Corn can be a little unpredictable, especially when we're keeping it in to try to take advantage of a summer rally kind of thing. And you think you're good, and then you're checking it, and all of a sudden it pops up on you. You won't check it for a few weeks, and you pull a load out, and it's a little stinky and a little warm, and we throw the fans back on, and normally the losses are fairly minimal. A few chunks come out or whatever. But no, we've never been in a situation where we've had a bin of canola melt or something like that. That would be, just awful. And like you said, the bins are so big, it's not like we've got these little 3350s and stuff anymore. I mean, guys are putting canola in 25, 40,000 bushel bins, and a little dangerous if something goes wrong for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Fertilizer. Do you do much in the fall, or do you wait till spring? And what's your purchase? What does that kind of look like? Have you stocked up on it?
Yeah, we haven't done a whole lot yet. We do try to do a little bit in the fall, stuff that we're putting maybe into canola next year, and corn on any of our heavier land. We'll try to get it on in the fall. That way we don't have to touch those fields in the spring. You just kind of go in one pass deal and done. But most of our corn, our edible beans, and our wheat all goes on with the drill and the planter, or before the planter in the spring. We'll probably pre-book that end of December for our year end. Kind of just what we do, and whether it's the best time to do it or not, it seems to work out more times than not. That's one of the lower prices of the year. Fertilizer market doesn't seem like it's moved a whole lot either. We put a lot of urea and 1152 on the stuff in the fall, and seems like those prices have been pretty stable for a while. There's no good deals there, but it's also not the numbers that we were dealing with a couple of years ago either. Obviously, it has to be tied into grain prices a little bit. You're not putting on $1,200 a ton fertilizer for $7 wheat, that's for sure.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the impact is. We've had Hurricane Helene, and we got another hurricane this week, substantial hurricanes too. I wonder about some of the impacts there on something like the fertilizer market in the Gulf.
Yeah, it's just wild to see some of these events. And Florida's been taking it pretty hard for the last few years. It seems like it's kind of relentless in that part of the world, and it's getting so populated, and so many people live on the coast, and they've just been kind of in that path of these hurricanes. And it's pretty wild to see. Hopefully, everybody's all right down there.
Yeah, well put. Hey, Warren, thanks so much. Good luck with that corn harvest.
Yeah, you bet. Much appreciated.
Hey, we'll be right back on RealAg Radio on the Farmer Rapid Fire right after this.
Get ready for tillage season with the high-speed disc from Brandt. Cut and size residue, create ideal seed beds, and level ruts faster than any other tillage machine. It's a better field finish and fewer passes, so you can stay on schedule no matter what fall throws at you. And right now you can get yours with a $12,000 rebate. There's never been a better time to bring your operation up to speed. Visit Brandt.ca for details.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from realagriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio and the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And we're going to Blaine Lake, Saskatchewan, and we're talking to Mike Shewchuk. Mike, how are we doing?
Good, Shaun. How you doing?
Pretty good. You're out floating fertilizer today? What are you doing?
Just getting lined up to trying to get the bugs out of the system.
You got some minor setbacks, or what's happening?
Oh, that's farming. There's always something to fix. You know how it goes. But no, we're getting on top of it. And yeah, like you said, we're just getting ready, lined up to start applying some fall fertilizer here next week. And yeah, good
stuff. Now, do you usually do fall fertilization?
Yeah, we have for a number of years. It just kind of splits up some of the workload there from seeding time and just our operation. We just like to put a little more of the end further away from the seed and just kind of, we seem to have good results with doing it that way. So we've been doing that for a number of years.
How have fertilizer prices been? Is that a different story?
Well, yeah, I actually got a call from one of our suppliers here today, looking at phosphate and some of the stuff going on with the hurricane down south there. You know, they're saying to book up what you can while there's supplies. So that's kind of a little bit concerning. Nitrogen we booked kind of a few months ago. Not as cheap as one would have liked, but you know, that's farming. It's kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it's you know, that hurt. The hurricane activity in the last couple of weeks has been substantial. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you feel for a lot of those people and what's going on down there. So it's you definitely feel for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Harvest all wrapped up there?
Yeah, we finished up a couple weeks ago here, and a couple guys out in the field there just doing some harrowing and some other fall work. So the weather's nice this week and looks decent next week. So we'll hopefully finish that up and yeah, like I said, kind of finished up harvest there a few weeks back. So
Yeah, you said you're doing some harrowing?
yeah, harrowing some field. We had some pretty heavy straw here.
Okay.
I wish there would have been more grain in it, but pretty heavy straw for what there was.
Do you have like one of those long tine harrows where you're trying to lift the trash, or what are you doing exactly?
Yeah, it's kind of breaking up the trash. A lot of those sprayer tracks and stuff like that. It's a heavy harrow. So yeah, it has long big tines, and basically just smashes the trash up. That's the goal.
You get to drive really fast. What speed are you going at?
You typically do it at about 12 miles an hour.
Oh, yes. 12 miles an hour, ripping down the field, just listening to RealAg Radio on rural radio, and just loving life.
Exactly, yeah, radio crank. It's a pretty sweet job. I mean, you don't have to stop the fill or anything. Just give her.
Yeah, when you're not listening to this show, you're like you got like the Metallica Black album just cranked.
Yeah, you nailed it, Shaun. Yeah.
I know you. I know what's going on here. How have you felt about yields? Like, because we've talked to so many growers across Saskatchewan who have sort of like, so much was there in June, and that hot July really kind of just said it. We just didn't get to our full potential. What did you experience?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like you said, you're hearing that lots now across the province or even Western Canada. Like you said, like May, June, like unreal rain, just perfect, as much as we can handle, and which we haven't seen in years. And then we applied all the fungicide, everything. Crop was looking good. July came around, tap shut off. Lots of hot weather. I don't think we got any rain in July there. And then, but the crop still looked good coming to August. We still had some hopes. And once he got into it, especially the canola, it would just like, a stand for 50 bushels and it's yielding 30 bushels. It's disappointing. But again, that's farming. At the end of the day, Mother Nature decides. Yeah.
You're having to spread the trash, so you're obviously dropping your straw. Do you ever bale at all?
We never have. No, we like to. I mean, we have the odd time baled some stuff, especially on flax straw. But we haven't grown flax in a number of years. But like on our canola and wheat that we're growing, we just chop and spread. And then, like I said, this year we had quite a bit of straw, so we're heavy harrowing it. But we like to retain that trash as much as possible without having any seeding issues.
Whoever figures out how to breed flax with different straw characteristics, we may see more acres. I think it's always one of the things that holds flax acres back is what the heck to do with all this trash and straw, and just it's so difficult.
100%. Yeah, that's probably the biggest turnoff for wanting to grow flax for most producers is dealing with the straw after. So yeah, you're right. If there could be a way that the breeding of the genetics, just something that breaks down easier, something that could be chopped and spread without an issue, then I think flax acres would definitely rebound.
Yeah, I had somebody on the rapid fire here once, and I said, why'd you grow flax? It's like, well, we wanted the straw because we had to fill a big hole. Seems like a weird reason to grow a crop, but okay, whatever works.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah. On the marketing side, we kind of seen, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a bounce, but we're sort of holding here in a little bit better of a spot than we were, say, 60 days ago. How's the crop marketing?
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's nice to see a little bits of gains in markets, especially, canola, wheat, but they're not where they need to be. Like when you look at, historical averages for crop yields and the prices we're paying for fertilizer, like it's a little tough to pencil in a big profit when crop prices, commodity prices are the way they are. for grains. So, but again, it's, looking at the back of this year, it's like farming isn't, from what I've seen over my experience over the last number of years, it's definitely not a get rich quick scheme. So you're in it for years, and hopefully you come out a little bit ahead every year, and sometimes there'll be those big years of gain, sometimes there'll be those years you lose, but you generally keep on going forward.
Yeah, patience is a virtue. Patience is it serves you well in this industry, indeed, and some perseverance and things like that. That's what comes to mind, Mike.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially when you look at some of the years like this, and maybe going forward here, that prices don't look so rosy. So you definitely gotta have patience and perseverance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hey, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us here at the Farm Rapid Fire. All the best to you. Get that fall work done, and we'll talk to you when the snow starts to fly.
Yeah, thank you, Shaun. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure chatting.
Great stuff. Hey, we'll be right back on the Farmer Rapid Fire here on RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
Calling all Montana, Dakotas, and northern Minnesota growers, are you looking for a profitable addition to your farm that can deliver value beyond yield? The new seed omega-3 canola production system can help you unlock a guaranteed path to market with attractive premium opportunities and an active God clause. Contracts include first-in-class agronomy support and free on-farm pickup after harvest. Contracts are available now. Commit early to maximize your opportunity. To learn more, visit omega3canola.com.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Neerlandia, Alberta, and we're talking to Shane Strydhorst. Hey, Shane, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you doing, Shaun?
Pretty good. You're out in the field right now. What are you doing?
I am. I'm working on the last of the crop taking in faba beans today.
Oh, and how are those faba beans? How are they running? Pretty good?
They've actually done really well. I was quite pleasantly surprised, despite the heat that we had in July, but yeah, it seems like they made some beans, and it's a good crop coming off here. A little later than I'd like, but it's got a little bit of good harvest weather in us yet.
Yeah, definitely know more and more growers that are exploring faba beans and trying it out, and it's maybe for some it's become a bit of a staple in their rotation. What do you do with faba beans? Seems like there's a number of different markets. What do you do?
We've done a number of different things. They've gone to Egypt for export a few times. We've probably predominantly gone into feed mills and local hog rations. But, there's definitely a few options out there, and we're hoping more and more all the time to get some more fractionating and processing domestically. So, I think there's good opportunities there as we go forward with this crop.
Did you get into it for rotational purposes, or did you see an opportunity financially when you first started?
Probably we started more for rotational purposes. It was one more crop to stretch the rotations out, get a little bit more of a break from canola in the rotation. And, of course, they're legumes, so the nitrogen fixation is fantastic. We see real good wheat crops that you're following a faba bean crop. And, we're just all the time hoping that more and more markets pick up and have more and more growers try out this crop and have success with it. And a few people in this area this year tried it for the first time, and they're going to be repeat growers, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I know a lot of times in agriculture, we're talking from a disease management standpoint, we're talking about rotation. I know that that's not something I need to, I'm preaching to the choir there with you. How many different crops you got in that rotation there?
I'm set with 4 right now. So we, faba beans, spring wheat, barley, and canola are the 4 that we typically cycle through.
How'd you feel about your canola this year?
Our canola actually did really well too. There again, it was another pleasant surprise that somehow, despite the heat, we made some pods and made some yield there. And I think maybe we were fortunate in this part of the world to have a bit of moisture in the ground this spring, and I think maybe that helped to help the crops to get through that hot spell a little bit better, and maybe we just didn't quite get the intense heat that some parts of Alberta did receive.
Neerlandia sounds like a little bit of a sweet spot there, Shane. I don't want to overstate it and be hyperbolic, but it sounds like you're kind of satisfied with what you're seeing on that yield monitor.
Yeah, well, it sounds almost like a fairy tale place when you say it a few times, and it's a real nice little pocket of the world for farming, that's for sure.
What's kind of been your biggest challenge this year?
Oh, probably for me, patience. The year started out so cold, so the crops got off to a real slow start this spring, and then once the heat picked up, they advanced quickly, and then this fall, it seems like I'm kind of ready for the next field, and the next field isn't quite ready for me a lot of the time. So it's been a little bit of a patience game, just waiting for each field to get ready and not rush in too quickly.
You know, it's funny. I was chatting earlier with another farmer about, farming is such a game of patience. And when you don't have it, it has a way of snapping back at you and reminding you that patience is so critical, whether it's livestock or growing crops. You gotta carry it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't like to criticize neighbors, but there's some people that, they just haven't learned about patience so much yet. And they maybe always want to be the first one to start seeding, even if it's too cold, or they want to be the first one done harvest. So they're out too early and drying everything. But it's definitely a difficult thing, having patience enough to do a good job of everything.
Yeah. For you, is harvest the most kind of your favorite time of the year, or would it be planting?
I think for me, planting, it's kind of that's when your report card is still in a blank slate, so it could be a perfect year at that point. And harvest is maybe the time where all the things that you hopefully did right, and maybe some of the things you did wrong are showing up in that report card then.
And you just kind of hope that the report card says you did more things right and wrong, and the ones you got wrong aren't too substantial that you can't overcome them, right?
Absolutely, and then of course that's all the things that we can't control. We hope that they work out as well.
Well, these hurricanes, it's incredible to see some of the coverage on TV and hear about it on the radio. You just really think about the people that are you think you're having a week of adversity and things haven't been going right for you, and then you see what those people are going through, and you're just like, oh my goodness, just you think about them.
Yeah, for sure. It makes our problems and our stresses seem pretty irrelevant when things like that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other big plans for fall from a fall work perspective? Will you do some fall fertilization?
Not so much fertilization. We put everything on one pass with the drill, but we are getting a little bit more into some of the fall applied granular herbicides, just trying to keep those wily weeds at bay. So, we're going to be doing a little bit of edge and a bit of Avedex, and of course the harrowing that's associated with that. So that'll be on the agenda for next week, after hopefully we get the beans off in the next day or two.
Yeah. When you hear edge and Avedex, it's just like Shane Strydhorst going old school, right? Those are some brands from the past, man.
Well, when I was a teenager, we used Avedex extensively, and I think we probably used it a bit too much at that time. And we took quite a long break from it. Now it's coming back to be a really valuable tool after a lot of years where we maybe used our Group 1s and Group 2s just a little bit too much. So it's great to have some of those options available. And this year we tried some Avedex for the first time in a couple of years, and it worked extremely well.
What's old is new again. It's funny how things come around. What's your biggest troublesome weed that you're trying to take care of here in the fall?
For me this year, actually, it's foxtail barley. We had a kind of a tough bit of control this spring. It was so cold, so a lot of our pre-emerge weed herbicide applications didn't do that well. So the foxtail barley got a good foothold. So we've done a little bit of post-harvest spraying on that, and we'll be trying to make sure we get a really good pre-emerge done next spring again to get that back under control.
Foxtail barley, is that always been a prevailing problem, or is it just getting worse?
I think that it's probably something when we used to do more tillage, it was less of an issue. But now that we've gone almost extensively zero till, it shows up a little bit more. And it seems like it does very well in wet conditions, and sometimes even in dry conditions it does well. And it maybe isn't such a big yield robber, but it can sure cause headaches at harvest time with straight cutting.
From an annual perspective, are you seeing any kochia in your area?
Fortunately, not a lot of kochia here. I like to keep telling myself we're too far north, but the more I hear and read,
look out.
It is advancing. But Cleavers is our kosher around here.
Oh, really? Okay, that's well. There's you know what? There's no shortage of problems. You don't wish you don't wish any of this on anybody, right? And it's just funny how that goes. So, before we wrap up here, from a crop marketing perspective, how is that going for you? You feel you made the right decisions, regrets, hindsight, 2020 kind of stuff?
Yeah, I guess a little bit of all of the above. I guess I've never been one to sell too much before I had it on hand, so I've never gotten burned that way. And maybe a guy misses some opportunities, but there's been some pretty good rallies in some of the grain markets the last couple of weeks. So it looks like we're gonna do fairly well on canola this year, and the wheat has made a good recovery too the last little bit. So
yeah. Good stuff. Well, hey, Shane, really appreciate you joining us here this week on the Farmer Rapid Fire. I'll let you get back to your combining of those fabs, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Wonderful. Thanks, Shaun.
Hey, we'll be right back here on RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety, enhanced weed control, and a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're joined right now by Pioneer agronomist based out of Eastern Ontario. It's Paul Hermans. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Going great, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
So, how are things looking out there on the countryside?
It's phenomenal. We're about 75% done soybean harvest, Shaun, and a lot of fantastic yields out there. I'd say on about 90-95% of the acres. Raining here today as we speak, but a lot of guys are anxious that they'll probably get done by Thanksgiving and then get into corn, because corn's chomping at the bit and ready to be harvested.
How do growers feel about that soybean yield? Are they pleasantly surprised about it? Or are they disappointed? What's the description?
So most guys are really surprised and happy. I was out yesterday with a customer doing a plot, and he was saying he was about 20% above average, and most guys are above average overall across the board. And really surprised. You think back to May, June, we got a late planted in May, wet, and we're all kind of scratching our heads what's going to be the year. But Mother Nature has come through. In my area, Shaun, we normally get mold. We didn't have any mold this year. I think that's definitely helped. I shouldn't say didn't have any mold, but virtually none across the area. So that's really helped. And most guys are looking at above average yields, some of the highest yields we've ever had. And that's a good thing given the, commodity prices and where things are at today.
Yeah, what's happened to commodity prices, we definitely need as much yield as we can. We'll take the yield we can get it, right?
Exactly. Yields at the end of the day, trumps all and helps pay the bills, and here to help our customers get the most yields that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now what about that corn yield? What is the expectation as we get a little bit closer to corn harvest here?
I think we're going to have, on good drained soils, some of those heavier clays, not tile, not going to be so much so, but overall I think, our initial yield estimates are looking fantastic. We haven't had a killing frost yet. 99% of the crop has reached black layer, and we've had that kernel weight on. I just can't believe the month of September we've had. It's been the best month all summer and really helped to finish that crop off. So we're excited. We've had a few people, Shaun, nosed into corn, running 22, 23% moisture at this time of the year, and some good reports on corn so far to date. So that's exciting. Again, most guys are probably going to get done by Thanksgiving on beans and then get in the corn and have a good chunk of October to do that.
Yeah, definitely the topic of discussion this year on the corn has been tar spot. What have you seen much of it out there in the fields?
So we haven't seen it right in Eastern Ontario, but it's jumped basically the city of Toronto, if you want to say that. It's, about 100 kilometers to the west of me. The agronomist, he's found it in different counties. We're reports now in Quebec, central Quebec, and then Ohio. So from my standpoint, where I live, it's kind of circling all around me. I'm sure we got a bit of it out there, Shaun, just haven't found it and probably won't find it now, but it's something to keep an eye on for next year. Usually that first year, we're probably going to see it next year, I would assume. And it's that second year that we really got to think about what are you going to do from a hybrid selection standpoint, genetics, and then fungicide. And that's the big thing I'm talking to customers about is we've got to really plan and think 2 years down the road, with equipment. Do we have the equipment to do that? Because currently we wouldn't have the equipment to get across a lot of acres here in Eastern Ontario from a corn fungicide standpoint.
Yeah, good point. You got to have that equipment available to you to be able to do that, that kind of fungicide application to protect yourself against a disease like tar spot if it does work its way into your area. I think there's going to be some real post analysis this year in terms of that, no application, one application, two application, and what that timing of it being so critical in terms of how much you were impacted by tar spot in some of these regions.
Exactly. And it's, I hate to say it, but we're lucky that we've had our people to the south of us in the U.S. to learn first, right? And a lot of experience there. And, I feel for the growers in Southern Ontario that have it, but they're learning to adapt with it. And it's like you said, one pass, two pass timing thing, a lot of data coming out of the U.S. saying, sometimes that VT tassel might have been better to wait a week or two just from a tar spot perspective. So every year we're learning more about it, and that's going to help basically the whole industry and customers really understand that disease better moving forward.
What about 25 and hybrid selection? How does it impact that decision?
Yeah, so it's I guess if you're in a tar spot area, we're talking on corn first. First genetics, and there's a big difference in genetics out there. If we don't have that strong genetic background, that's setting us up for failure. So take a look at that. Talking about fungicides, particular fungicides work on tar spot, others don't. And then, currently right now we're getting soybean harvest done and the crime scene, so to speak, has been taken away. But just as a customer or grower, think about, what were the diseases, the weeds I had out in the field, because different varieties, different hybrids, strengths and weakness, depending on what it is. And thinking about that when you sit down with your Pioneer sales rep and figuring out seed selection for 2025 and beyond.
Okay, well, there you go. We're getting to the end here of 24 crop. Any big predictions on who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year as hockey started this week?
I'm not so sure, Shaun. I live in Ottawa. We have the Senators. You always hope for them, but
you are not, Paul. You are not picking the Ottawa Senators to win the Stanley Cup.
No, definitely not, Shaun. And not Toronto either, unfortunately, but who knows?
Yeah, well, I'll make sure I'll pass that on to Kelvin Hepner and Bern Tobin from our team that the Leafs are not winning, according to Paul Hermans as well. So that's good.
Exactly.
You're not making a lot of friends here, Paul.
For the Leafs.
What's that?
No. I say rinse and repeat for the Leafs.
Yeah, rinse and repeat, just over and over. It's just it's the same same old story. Hey, Paul, thanks a lot for joining us here this week on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Shaun. Thanks for having me on.
That is Paul Hermans. Of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. You can go to pioneer.com/Canada to find out more. They are the exclusive sponsor all throughout 2024 of the Farmer Rapid Fire. If you have any feedback on today's program, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or, of course, call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.